Fashion News opens its fashion vaults to the most important, influential, and trend-setting designers of the last 30 years. Designer Marathon brings you a unique chronicle of the milestone moments, the landmark collections, the exhibitions, the favorite models, and the creative process behind every designer's career. From the first to the last, from the shocking to the classic, follow the evolution of the world's top designers from rising star to fashion icon. It's all here in the vault, a retro-spectacular timeline, a designer marathon. Despite a humble working-class background, a sense of mythology surrounds designer Alexander McQueen and his rapid rise to fame. Starting an apprenticeship on Savile Row at just 16 years old, McQueen learned the rigorous craft of tailoring. But the young McQueen was already a provocateur.
He wrote, "I am a inside the Savile Row jacket he stitched for Prince Charles, and I am stinking rich inside Lord Rothschild's."
McQueen went on to work with Cognoscenti and Romeo Givenchy before returning to London and attending Central St. Martin's. His entire graduation collection was famously bought by Isabella Blow, who would become his champion and muse, and as legend has it, convince him to drop his first name Lee in favor of his middle name Alexander for his collection label.
I think he's someone really that's going to do very well. I mean, I hope Alexander's going to take over like John Galliano, perhaps one day a major couture house in Paris. And there's always romance and sadness and joy and all the things that you have in life he puts into this tailoring. I think he's great.
At his first runway shows, McQueen refused to be photographed, allegedly because he was on the dole and feared losing his welfare. The government found out that Lee McQueen was in fact the now famous Alexander. McQueen's collections were shocking and provocative. His dangerously low bumpster pants gained instant notoriety, and his fall 1995 Highland Rape collection, though still incendiary, is now considered a fashion landmark.
A show is about excitement and having a good time and provoking thought and imagination, and I don't see a point in doing a show if it's not going to provoke any sort of feeling.
McQueen's provocative collections, paired with his razor-sharp tailoring, quickly got him noticed by the fashion powers. In 1996, the bad boy of fashion was placed at the head of the elegant French house of Givenchy. It was an unexpected casting, and in spite of some strong reviews and the opportunity to design the haute couture, McQueen claimed his creativity was stifled by the house and its corporate bosses, LVMH.
You have the commercial side of fashion that you have to sell, and then you have the creative side of fashion, and really the two never combine, and you either stick to one or the other.
McQueen's tenure at Givenchy wouldn't last, but he had become an established powerhouse, and fashion insiders flocked to each collection in anticipation of his dark, enchanting vision.
Sky's the limit.
Alexander McQueen's collection is going to the birds. At least that's the theme of the latest from London's king of late-night fashion. The much-anticipated show, held in a warehouse, got off to a late start, but it was full of glamour and surprises. McQueen's love of tailoring comes from time spent as an assistant to two Savile Row tailors, as well as design kings Koji Tatsuno and Romeo Givenchy. But no matter what the fashion, McQueen's got his own style. buzz during London Fashion Week centered around the Alexander McQueen show. What would this controversial young designer cook up? Press shy McQueen, who refuses to be photographed, delivered with a shocking remark on the history of Scotland.
You have two types of Scotland people associate themselves with. You have the Vivienne Westwood romantic Scotland, sways of tartan and silk. My ancestry is the Jacobites of Scotland, the Bonnie Prince Charlie, but the more raw is the war of the English and the Scottish. But tonight I told it like the way it was, where the English raped loads of women, killed clans completely off, and it's like a form of genocide. It was then, and people don't realise this. They see a Bonnie Prince Charlie and it's very romantic and swashbuckling, but it was actually very gruesome. And rape is very gruesome. But the idea was that saying to the public, you can have it, but I'm not giving it. You can take it rather, but I'm not give it to you. You got to take it. And that's what rape is. A man takes from a woman. The woman's not giving it. And so it's a very strong. I don't beat around the bush when I do a show. I go straight for the jugular.
This Savile Row trained designer loves to play with technique, evidenced by his signature low-slung pants.
Just a technical thing where, as a tailor and a cutter, a technician, you're breaking up a portion of the body. By lowering the trousers longer, you're elongating the torso, and in illusion, giving a longer vision. It's just about playing with juxtapositions of sort of like cutting techniques. It's nothing to do with bum cleavage, but that's an added bonus if you've got a nice bum. So. Tailoring's got to move on. How did we get the single and double-breasted suit? You have to move away from something. As a designer, it's just like anything. If you're a designer for cars, you don't design another Mini when there's already one on the street, or another Volvo because there's already one. So you just got to. As a designer, you design new things, and that's what I see a designer as. I don't philosophise too much. At the end of the day, they're clothes and they're for wearing. I'm not an artist.
Controversial designer Alexander McQueen turned to a controversial film for inspiration this season. The eccentric McQueen, who refuses to have his face photographed, called his collection The Hunger, after the classic 80s vampire film.
The film, Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie. It was just, it was the atmosphere of the film noir of Paris, the sleekness, the stylish, the slashing, the sexuality between Catherine Deneuve and Susan Sarandon, the connection between the animal kingdom and the human kingdom, that type of thing. You've got to differentiate between the humans and animals, and you've got to understand that humans got an animal instinct as well, so it comes out in the women on the show.
This season marked a first for McQueen. Men on his runway.
I come from menswear anyway. I come from Savile Row myself, so it was easy to do for me. And there was things in the menswear that wasn't like menswear in general that stopped coming through for me. So I just designed clothes that I like to wear myself. So that's what I did.
Alexander McQueen.
A show is about excitement and having a good time. and provoking thought and imagination, and I don't see a point in doing a show if it's not going to provoke any sort of feeling.
McQUEEN provoked feelings of excitement. The fashion elite traveled to Christchurch and London's East End for the true fashion happening of British Fashion Week.
The question was about war and peace through the Middle Ages. Is just, I find that religion is the cause of mostly all the wars in the world.
So far as Alexander McQUEEN is concerned, I think he is a young genius, and I think that not just in his presentation, but in the remarkable cutting and stitching of his clothes and his intellect. I think he's a man of very great intellect.
Alexander's been described as a brutalist, as a woman hater, and all things. It's just so untrue, because I think he loves the woman's body, and I think he is a brilliant tailor.
You have a traditional Savile Row fabric, which is a chalk pinstripe, and to make it different, I thought, well, it'd be nice to cut it on the cross, straight through, instead of just cutting it down, which is so predictable.
And I thought the collection was easy to wear, and the street boys were fabulous. Street, inexpensive fabric, so it was street couture. You were fantastic.
It was the highlight of London Fashion Week, totally. It was amazing. It's beautiful, the atmosphere, the clothes, everything. It's just fantastic. You don't need to say anything, you just need to see it. Words can't explain it.
McQUEEN made headlines this season when he decided to show his collection in New York as well as London. After showing in a church in London, McQUEEN chose an out-of-use synagogue as his New York venue.
I was in London doing the London show, and I got a call saying, like, this man wants to bring me over to do a show in New York, and because he said it'd be good for New York, because it's kind of, my shows are kind of mad and crazy, and it would be something totally different. There's a good treat in store for people in New York. It's not too much in your face, but there's also beautiful, very beautiful clothes as well. It's just sort of like mixing the two. New York is a specialist town, and if you give them too much, they get bored. And I'd rather do it once in a blue moon, where it's a bit of a surprise.
He's someone really that's going to do very well. I mean, I hope Alexander's going to take over, like John Galliano, perhaps one day a major couture house in Paris, or even start up his own here.
One of the greatest talents in London is designer Alexander McQUEEN. McQUEEN makes another great splash with this outstanding collection.
Can you talk to me about the different sections that you
I
had?
just wanted to show everyone a broad range of McQUEEN, what he's capable of. I'm capable of high handworking, beadwork and embroidery, and sort of like tailoring, and cover the whole spectrum of fashion really.
I was kind of amazed, and some very beautiful techniques and beautiful sort of silk hand embroideries, and it's sort of not what you expect from someone with such a sort of radical image.
I found Alexander McQUEEN's show to be absolutely brilliant. Totally original and unseen clothes. I've never seen clothes or a show like that ever.
It's just like the things in my mind that tick over, and the illusions that I want to create in reality. Like I like to see a woman walking on water because I find it so sort of like surreal. I like that idea.
In a way, it's because of Alexander that the whole fashion scene thing started happening again in London.
I design for individuals, not lifestyle, you know. I'm not about lifestyle, I'm about individualism. You know, it's nothing about you buy a McQueen and you buy the bed linen and the perfume. It's not like that. You buy the attitude of McQueen, and the attitude's London.
But the biggest news surrounding McQueen actually comes from Paris, where McQueen is scheduled to replace fellow Brit John Galliano at the house of Givenchy.
I think if any of the rumours are true about him replacing Galliano, then this was the show that would do it.
Spring 1997 marked a new challenge for Alexander McQueen, his first collection for Givenchy and his very first couture collection.
As most first haute couture collections, it was not, 100%, and it was a little over the top, and it was very theatrical, but it was beautifully done, and it had a lot of passion.
Well, the sky's the limit.
I loved it. I thought it was incredibly theatrical and very clever and very, very focused. And I think apart from all the fancy dress, which was fun to look at, when you took all the accessories and everything else away, underneath you had the most exquisite tailoring and the most perfect draping.
Alexander, what has the best thing been about doing the couture collection?
Working with the people at the atelier and having the design executed in no way possible to man, and it comes to life.
Alexander McQueen is all about a kind of hardcore sex. It's a kind of a club aesthetic of London that is in your face, blatant, provocative, scary, wounding, torturous, but that is his aesthetic.
First of all, it was the logo of Givenchy, the white and gold. And then I thought it was very Greek, so I come up with a Greek mythological feeling to it. I thought what was the most fascinating Greek story to my knowledge. It was Jason and the Argonauts, and I thought the search for the Golden Fleece.
It was quite a show. It was definitely a show. I mean, if Mr. Arnault wanted, media attention, he got it. And I think that Alexander is truly talented.
And I think if you can make the chief executive cry of the company, I think you've achieved something. You've made a French businessman cry.
Always the most provocative show in London, Alexander McQueen demonstrates that his designs are worthy of the attention. Naming his collection, "It's a Jungle Out There," McQueen proved that there is beauty in the beast.
It was a basic idea that animals and human are exactly the same, both savage. But the animal's got more dignity because he only kills for food. We kill for pleasure, and that's the sadness of it.
And it was very raw and very strong, beautiful. I thought it was incredible.
The whole idea of, this is going to sound bad, but vulgarity that Alexander McQueen seems to be pushing and influencing a lot of the younger designers coming out of St. Martin's is very interesting.
I think this one was very, very raw and rough and almost a statement, not so much of not liking women, but looking as if he doesn't really like himself very much.
what London's about. It's raw energy, really. You know, it's just what people come here for.
Spending £70,000 to stage his latest runway show, Alexander McQueen literally took London by storm.
Alexander McQueen, I'm one of his biggest fans. This is his 9th show, and this was his masterpiece. There wasn't one single flaw in the show.
For Alexander, this was a really important season because he has made his name by being sort of the shock master of all the designers.
Whenever you do a show, that it's always going to be something new and really wicked. He's like anti-fashion almost, in the sense where like he doesn't really care, you know, it's like he does what he thinks is cool.
He proved with this collection that the things he's learned in the Givenchy ateliers, the couturier there, have paid off. There was exquisite cutting, I mean, beautifully done things. It really looked like a grown-up show and very serious.
I thought it was amazing. I mean, you know, I've always known Alexander as being great. So everyone's saying, wasn't it fantastic? He's always been great for me, so incredible. It was like a surgical operation. It was so precise.
When you're working with a big manufacturer, to actually get them to cut into like a jacket. I mean, you're talking about manufacturing garments. So to get them to cut so many panels and mash them up like that, it's kind of hard. So it took a lot of work.
You have to look at the clothes. I always say, when I give these interviews, respect the person for what they have produced as clothing. And he showed relentlessly what I would consider wearable, consumer-friendly dresses. I think that if you were in that room and didn't love the show, something was wrong with you.
It was a golden shower.
For Givenchy, Alexander McQueen showed his classic precision cut garments, full of his hard-edged attitude, yet spirited in the house's roots.
With Alexander McQueen's collection for Givenchy this time, I think it seemed more in the spirit of Givenchy. I can see him using some of the house archives and the wonderful tailoring. I felt it was a more sure hand at knowing where he's going. And yes, a lot of it was kind of inspired by Thierry Mugler and Claude Montana, but he has long said that they are, you know, icons and people that he greatly respects. I liked the fact, too, that it wasn't as angry as sometimes Alexander McQueen could be, and much more polished, more House of Givenchy.
I think the spirit of the clothes were really important, and I think that it was fantastic to see Alexander McQueen put himself into the collection in such a spirited way, and yet also make it sort of the modern Givenchy feeling. And I thought that he masterfully took fabrics like leathers and fur and different ornate, luxurious fabrics and really made it work, and sculpt the beautiful dresses and great sexy jackets that fit really close to the body and below the knee skirts. And I thought that it had great energy in terms of the clothes and great colors. I think that he's really pushing forward in terms of marrying his own design work to that of the House of Givenchy, and I think he's doing a great job.
Alexander McQueen was an incredibly hot show. It was inspired by Joan of Arc.
Presenting his most spectacular collection to date, Alexander McQueen set the catwalk ablaze with his talent.
You were meant to imagine, I think, that you were witnessing her being burnt at the stake.
The show is my 30 minutes to do whatever I like to do, and that's how I choose to do it.
The models came out and everything was either sort of blood red or flame red or black. Really, really sharp tailoring. He did a whole series of really brilliant tailcoats in black, which were really long, but they had kind of wide lapels and right in at the waist and over narrow trousers, and that was a really seriously good look.
You can't get better than a basic two-piece suit, and it's really just down to the cut that works, making it very slick, very sort of like well proportioned.
It was really very, very dramatic, but also very wearable.
One of the leading couturiers of contemporary fashion, Alexander McQueen is reinvigorating the house of Givenchy. Infusing his radical designs into delicate, wearable clothes, McQueen has maintained Givenchy's place as a capital French label.
You have the commercial side of fashion that you have to sell, and then you have the creative side of fashion. The two never combine, and you either stick to one or the other.
The Givenchy customer is very, very happy with what Alexander McQueen is giving them, and they should be, because he so gets that French, wealthy, bourgeois, status customer, but he gives her his designs with just the elements she needs to feel comfortable wearing the clothes.
The collection was discretion crossed with sex appeal, with tailoring still at the core of McQueen's designs. This season, he softens his approach.
I love Givenchy. I thought he really brought together the sort of renegade and the commercial in the best possible way. And I thought that it was just so beautiful, so feminine. And it seemed as if McQueen wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just settled down and making beautiful clothes with a lot of really good ideas. So I loved some of the sequin things. Did you see the black sequin bathing suits? They were really dangerous. I won't be wearing those in this lifetime, but they were so beautiful.
I do break the rules, I suppose, and I don't really follow fashion trends. I create my own trends.
While still keeping his edge, McQueen has never been closer to the house creator, Givenchy.
Somehow when he got Givenchy and he knew he was playing in the international market, all of a sudden he switched. I mean, you could see this real intelligent design coming through, which was always there. He just needed to know that it had to go beyond theatrics, and he had to produce pieces that women will want to wear, and he had to sort of move fashion forward. And he does that for Givenchy.
McQueen first became known for his sometimes shocking designs, but his move to Givenchy in 1996 confirmed that his workmanship was every bit as exceptional as his imagination.
People don't really see that in the shop. They just feel the quality and they either like it or they don't, but the design is very important.
He's so British, the way he cuts everything.
On Savile Row, he learned how to make the clothing. So not only is he a brilliant designer, but he can actually fabricate it so that it works and that the cut is right and that it, accentuates parts of a woman's body. And when you're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's considered beautiful, I mean, you're at the top of your form.
And this season was no exception. Startling theatrics combined with magnificent craft made the McQueen Spring-Summer collection another fashion landmark.
What other show in the world are you going to see a print being put on a dress on the catwalk?
It's like I just hear these muffled sort of screams and shouts, and it seems like everyone's really enjoying it. I know, like yesterday we just keep looking all the guys to each other like, wow, 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 you know, like whatever you see there is just amazing.
Something just ticks. I don't really close to one thing. I don't look in many books. I don't go to many museums. I don't find that inspirational looking at someone else's work. I don't know, I'm kind of schizophrenic. I get it from everywhere.
Always challenging, McQUEEN especially created artificial legs for Paralympic athlete Amy Mullins for the runway.
It was really just, I think, momentous. It's never been done before. They've never had to put someone who's been considered disabled on a runway. Some people would think he's there to shock. It's too easy to shock. It's much more difficult to provoke people to think.
It showed an amazing understanding of the edginess and creativity of London design, married to a marvelous sense of craft. I would say Alexander McQUEEN is only just getting into his stride.
He's an artist.
He's someone really that's going to do very well.
Everything McQUEEN does is amazing.
I just want to be happy in what I'm doing.
Givenchy by Alexander McQUEEN was one collection that addressed the year 2000, when the show opened with a voice ordering cell phones to be turned off, and blue lasers flashed each letter of the name, Givenchy. It felt like a real space odyssey.
I think that it was a stellar collection that really brought us into, you know, the next millennium, and I think that was what he was trying to do and show a new take on glamour, and it really worked.
As silver and white outfits and circuit board patterned suits transpired down the mirrored silver runway, it was McQUEEN at his laser-sharp best.
I thought it was very modern and yet classic, very futuristic, yet very classic, very incredible tailoring, incredibly sexy suits, and yet it was very sort of icy and cold and glamorous.
McQUEEN's control of tailoring is that of a master. From suits with square shoulders, dusted by beating, to jackets stitched with asymmetric panels and geometric inserts, to dresses made from razor-cut red leather. Plastic coats and white leather suits recall past interpretations of futurism by Courrèges and Pierre Cardin from the 1960s. Henné velvet dresses put a softer touch on the season's Givenchy look. For the finale, he sent out models wearing circuitry-printed pants and jackets wired with light bulbs, flashing, perhaps a code that the next millennium is near. One of fall's unchallenged highlights was London bad boy Alexander McQUEEN, never one to abandon the notion of fashion as entertainment. Once again, McQUEEN amazed the runway-weary fashion flock, transforming a London truck depot into a giant acrylic-covered snow globe. His fantasy world drew inspiration from the Stanley Kubrick film, The Shining. Without abandoning his signature touches of the bizarre, this season McQUEEN let his romantic side show. This new mood was most obvious in his softened color palette, ranging from the most delicate pinks to steely winter grays. His group of all-white ice skaters were nothing short of angelic. McQUEEN also said he was inspired by the turn-of-the-century period when traditional artisans faced off against the rise of industry. Light-handed artistic workmanship came through in elaborate embroideries, delicate cutouts, and carefully planned patchwork. His unbelievably chunky knits were also standouts. Icelandic sportswear elements like puffy parkas played against McQUEEN's trademark Savile Row tailoring, creating an imaginative interpretation of modern luxury. McQUEEN's latest decision, bound to shake up the fashion world, is his move to New York to show his upcoming spring collection. All the fashion players came out when Alexander McQUEEN turned the Carousel de Louvre into a basketball court for his spring presentation for Givenchy. This was a thoroughly sports-inspired collection, heavy on athletic detailing, power striping, wrestling tees, drawstrings, and mesh tracksuits. McQUEEN's tailoring was evident in the fine-tuned suiting and precision cutouts. A gold medal photo op came with each model posed in front of a wind machine, underscoring this collection's sexy slant, and it certainly helped that their game was played in spiky stilettos. With a just-do-it attitude, this collection was for spring's extroverts.
I was born and raised in London. I don't feel anywhere comfortable other than London, I'm afraid.
It seems somewhat befitting that the wild winds of Hurricane Floyd welcomed Alexander McQUEEN to New York. A man known for his theatrics, he left London this season in favor of showing to a larger New York audience. Even amidst claps of thunder, McQUEEN drew a packed house.
A hurricane was raging outside. There was nothing compared to the storm that Alexander McQUEEN whipped up. Alexander McQUEEn's show was more of an event, more of an extraordinary fashion happening than a simple presentation of clothes.
He always puts on such a theatrical, amazing event. The clothes actually had a very street feeling to them, which is his kind of beat in London, but it really works in New York too.
The whole theme of the show seemed to be really examining the art of war and the costumes that go with war. It was very, very bizarre and very disturbing at times, but beautifully cut. the biggest surprise came right at the end of the show, and everything went dark, and suddenly sailing right across was this woman in black robes. All these acrobats and aerialists came out suspended on wires, and they started doing this kind of dance of death. It did disturb you. This is the secret of Alexander McQueen. He's not afraid to really push the boundaries, really move fashion very far forward and explore things that other designers might shrink away from.
A designer has his own mind and he doesn't follow any rules except his own. Everything he does is spontaneous. It's a creative process that doesn't look at anything else really, it's just you and your mind.
Tunes blaring, Alexander McQueen unveiled the Givenchy antidote for autumn dressing. Precision suiting and 80s embellishments.
Givenchy definitely had more than a nod to the 80s. A lot of leather, a lot of skin showing, a little bit of S&M, and definite, I think, overtones of Blade Runner. Not for the faint-hearted.
Was evident in this season's strong silhouette. The return of a defined padded shoulder brought a new attitude to jackets. And leggings, once the definition of American weekend wear, took on a severe look under McQueen's hand.
The return of the 80s, that real sort of punk, hard-feeling leathers, those really tailored suits, the return of the shoulder pad, they were all there at the show.
It was very different for Givenchy. It was inspired by punk and the street, and it was a whole new direction for McQueen.
The majority of the collection was executed in somber blacks and military greens. After some garnishes of grape, McQueen achieved an accent on 80s punk with an infusion of plaid.
Alexander McQueen is a hugely talented designer. And I think what's so exciting about him is he really pushes the limits.
Staging his fall runway show at Alfred Hitchcock's old Gainsborough studios, McQueen's models walked a plank and then a gravel runway. An Out of Africa theme proved dramatic in the hands of the ultimate showman, McQueen.
What London's about, it's raw energy really, you know, it's just what people come here for.
And they came in droves for raw and vivid looks, perforated leather, full textured knitwear, unusual skins, and lots of magic with denim. season, the audience was invited to witness rather disturbing behavior of McQUEEN's patients. The models were trapped in a glass box, reminiscent of an asylum, with white padded walls and wild imagination. Deranged girls struggled to walk in their heelless shoes and vicious spikes, with their heads tightly bandaged, suggesting a recent lobotomy. Even more so, the magical shapes of Alexander's collection stood out in this surreal environment. There was a serenity of soft cocktail dresses and feathered gowns in crepe georgette and silk. A number of simple pantsuits in pastel colors and gray pinstripes suggested daytime alternatives to black. Worn together with a matching tie, it had a hint of major trend this season for man-like dressing. To juxtapose, out came oyster shell skirts and stuffed prey on the model's shoulders, followed by the outburst of apocalyptic laughter that no one could hear. Big rat climbing on a miniature house, slim bodies tormented by jigsaw puzzle corsets. It all had the mood of Flemish artist Hieronymus Bosch, a dreamy nightmare with a culminating finale. Shattered walls of the central cube revealed naked creatures surrounded by a flock of gigantic black butterflies. Hats off to the fashion maverick, Alexander McQUEEN.